the synthetic nature of our world and essentially like how it works even in the biblical accounting of it. So in the biblical accounting you have the four living creatures, and even the four living creatures, it has a representation of four of the seven spirits of God. And when you're talking about the seven spirits of God, you're talking about this metamorphic world. It's a synthetic world, and there is some values that they're attributing to a divine truth. Okay, outside of the carnal world. The four carnal points represents the carnal world, and then you have these three other spirits to embody the divine body of God. That's what's in a systemic created world. And what they're talking about is some you can look at the four living creatures as aspects of hierarchy in a created world, and then you can look at the three additional spirits as the objectivity of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And that is intrinsic to the message of the Bible. It's kind of like saying you don't have good and evil as a binary thing. You have it as a objectified thing, to have a recognition of values. It takes three aspects of things to have any substance to value. You don't have hot and cold just by having two things. You have hot and cold and a dimensional transformation. That means, hot and cold are abstracts, and it has to be an abstract that's affecting some filament value. That's how you have a trinity in the aspect of all things. And that's what the Bible describes with seven spirits. They talk about the first four, and then they talk about the transcendental values with three additional spirits. That's the seven spirits that's defined in the Bible. People don't recognize what I'm saying. When I'm describing that, it's very clearly written in the Bible. It's repeated over and over and over again. You can see Enoch describes this in detail, and it gives you the context of what the rest of the Bible is actually describing. When you recognize that that's what the book of Enoch is saying, then you can see the Bible defines much clearer. There's a lot of conflicting values, because when you don't have this depth of recognition, you have this binary value system where the liar is divine, and it's just projection. The liar is telling, as in the Bible context, God's consecrated people, the worldly, polarized people are accusing the consecrated ones. This is why we're being trialed and tribulated by a bunch of narcissistic, pathological curmudgeons. They're just horrible people. Like, in their whole manifestation of what they're doing, in the timeline of their essence, they're these horrible people. Over and over and over and over again. They are this stuff. And they're really projecting on individuals. And the world religions kind of fall into that perspective. Everybody falls into that perspective. The perspective I'm giving, that's the rational biblical accounting, and few people adhere to that. They don't accept what I just described. Is like, no, that's a bunch of hoo-ha, baloney, booey. It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. You're just babbling nonsense. But it's not. That's not really actually what's at stake there. It's not a babbling nonsense. You can go on and on and on about it, because to qualify these statements, it takes a little bit more than maybe a 5-minute video. But it is something intrinsic to the values of what's being discussed. I mean, none of these concepts are without substance. This is, you could look in the book of Enoch describing this. You look at Isaiah describing this. You can look at Daniel describing this. You can look at Micah describing this. You can look at Zechariah describing this. You can look at Ezekiel describing it. And there's details. You can look at the book of Revelation describing it. There's details that are very important to recognize. And it's in the parables of the New Testament gospel. It's in the writings, in the epistles of Paul. That's the understanding of things. And when you find a person who takes the mono view, the world, like evil is good and good is evil, this is the common view. This is almost all the people claiming to be in the church take this view. They are babbling nonsense. They're going to be censoring people. They're going to be, even their behavior's foul. Because I've been doing this for like the whole time the internet's been around. I've been describing this to these vile people who censor the dialogue, and they understand nothing. They understand nothing. They'd be like, oh no, this is what it is. And they don't understand like anything close to what they're saying. And I go like, my interpretation is correct because here's where all these other meanings take value. And if there's an understanding, that's a discerning understanding. To have the common understanding where they go, evil is good, you don't have the spiritual understanding to recognize that evil is good. You need to harmonize with the truth. This is the common people. This is everywhere. And they're convinced. They're convinced that evil is good. And if you don't accept that, you're the problem. It's a very, very common thing. And then you can look at the geopolitical positioning. These very evil people, it's not just a few very evil people, it's the masses. They're very evil. Like to them, when the powerful people lie, cheat, steal, and violate, human values and common sense, it's just part of the divine knowledge of good and evil, and they're the elect, they're the elites. They understand these things, but you're too stupid to understand the spiritual mysteries. And believe that that's why they go through all these rites of passage and these, halls of ascension. They're convinced of this demonology is really granting them divine authority on the earth to do these things. They find it, hey, they've assimilated to a divine authority. You need to accept their foul behavior or face the consequences of their mortal hands. They got their little fingers on things, and they're active. They do kill people. And the Bible defends the saints and says, yeah, these religious jokers succeed in killing the saints. Now, the worldly people, most of the people are worldly, to them that's proof. When a vile Pharisee murders a saint, the fact that they did it proves the divine nature of the corrupt Pharisee. That's their religion. They believe that wholly solves their whole world view. And you go, wow, that's not a human rational view. That's a dead-brained animal. That's a godless animal. And this is the majority of people.